Alright, so I want you to picture this. Boruto's out here sprinting through the village like a man trying to return a red box rental back in 2013 before those late fees hit. If you remember that struggle, you are a real one. Because Mamushi, the obsessive snake man powered by bugs, chakra, and a god complex, has just slithered his way into Konoha looking for Ada like she's a snack on the shelf. And meanwhile, Himawari Uzumaki, the girl who went from accidentally knocking her dad out to training with Kurama like it's a daily meditation session, is right in the middle of the chaos, potentially charging into the battlefield that's somehow getting messier by the panel because we know she's going to be part of that team that is assisting Boruto. But here's where things get really spicy. If Himawari ends up helping fight against Mamushi, Jura, that Ten Tails himself, he's gonna get just enough curiosity to ruin everybody's week. Might even get his attention snapped right back to Himawari, because remember, Jura literally sees everything Mamushi sees. Every punch, every chakra burst, every moment that Himawari could tap into that budding Kurama power. And the last time that Jura fought Himawari, she was raw, unpolished, and barely holding on to Kurama's power without face planting into a tree because of the chakra control issues that she had. Jura was playing around with her, but now that she's actually growing, now that she's learning, she might finally truly impress him. And that's exactly the problem. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video where we're going to be breaking down why Himawari fighting Mamushi might reignite Jura's obsession, why that is dangerous, and why that's good for the story, and why Boruto is trying so hard to stop that future where Himawari and Ada dies. He might ironically be pushing Himawari back into the spotlight of the monster who does want her. So grab a snack, grab some chakra if you're Sasuke. This is going to get deep, almost as deep as the chapter review, which is linked in the description box and the end credits for those who haven't seen it, and almost as deep as my new video on everything One Piece Explained, where I go super in depth on the Zushi no Mi devil fruit. So let's go right into it. Let's set the stage. Mamushi's rampage and Himawari's position are what we got to look at first. So Mamushi has officially entered the village, and he's doing it with one thing on mind. He's trying to consume Ada. Not capture, not negotiate, not hide Pokemon cards. He wants to eat her. Bug's obsession with Ada, mixed with Ten Tails' instinct, has turned Mamushi into a literal predator. No Epstein, and he's not alone, at least not mentally, because Jura is watching through the eyes of every Shinju clone, including Mamushi. He's probably not physically in Konoha anymore, at least as far as we know, but that doesn't matter. If Mamushi sees it, then Jura sees it. And right now, Mamushi is eventually going to run headfirst into Himawari Uzumaki when one of his clones ends up finding her. She and that evacuation team are rushing through the village to assist in multiple engagements that are breaking out. She is supposed to add support to Boruto in some kind of way. She's not avoiding danger, she's heading directly into it. And the moment that Mamushi crosses her path, it becomes an instant broadcast straight to Jura's brain. Enough that he puts down that makeout tactics book and says, this just got interesting. And that brings me to why that clone ability makes this a lot worse. So Mamushi's jutsu does make things more chaotic. He can split his body into multiple clones that share his exact power level. It's like the Shadow Clone Jutsu, but it's more like what you saw with Madara's Limbo clones. Whereas the Shadow Clone Jutsu splits the chakra evenly amongst the number of clones, this Jutsu specifically keeps the clone at full power, and he is not limited like Limbo, where Limbo can only do 4 clones at a time. Mamushi can make unlimited clones, and they all have his power level, but the downside is that the more clones that he makes, the dumber they get. This makes a perfect storm for Himawari, because the more clones that Mamushi makes, the more opportunities there are for Himawari to exchange blows, show off her battle prowess by outsmarting those idiot clones, show off any new abilities, display any type of chakra control skill she has, tap into Kurama's power, demonstrate growth that Jura did not see in his first fight with Himawari. Every one of those clones is like a walking GoPro that is transmitting footage straight to Jura. He's basically watching a live stream. And if Himawari performs even slightly better than last time, if she shows any new evolution, any new chakra pattern, any new moment of composure, Jura's gonna notice. And I think it's important that in order to highlight that, we have to go back to the first time Jura fought Himawari and why that still matters. So looking at the first encounter, Jura was more so curious, intrigued, and mildly amused by Himawari. At the time, she was raw, impulsive, and she was overwhelmed, unable to balance her own power. But here's the problem. Because she couldn't properly control Kurama, because her potential was not enough to overcome that massive power gap between her and Jura, because she was channeling the power in a wild, unstable, and messy way, the way that a toddler draws on the wall, or the way that Naruto used to have a crayon sandwich at the academy training ground, Jura still found Himawari interesting. Now imagine how he'll react when her control improves, even slightly. Because since that encounter, Himawari has been training with Kurama mentally, learning to access that chakra properly, learning to fight more like a Biju. She has a stronger emotional grounding. She is gaining battlefield awareness because she's training with Kurama, and Kurama is honestly a better teacher than someone like Chocho. Jura knows that Himawari is still far from mastering that power, but she is progressing, and I would argue because of who her parents are, she's probably going to progress very quickly. And Jura's just not watching some random girl grow stronger. He's watching Naruto's daughter grow stronger. A 10-tails entity with predator instincts, you bet he's gonna notice the budding power of Himawari, especially someone like Himawari who grows potentially in a same way that Naruto did, and Naruto's somebody Jura still wants to consume. Naruto is somebody who grew primarily through battle experience. He could be taught different things, etc., but Naruto took the biggest leaps when Naruto was on the battlefield. It wasn't about theory, it wasn't about study, it wasn't about meditation. He had to get punched in the face in order to truly learn things. Some people learn through reading and listening the way that I do. Others have to learn things the harder way. They have to be hands-on. I would argue that Himawari might be the same, a hands-on learner. She grows potentially through battle. She improves because of danger. She evolves because chaos forces her to. That makes her terrifyingly compatible with Kurama. And that also makes her terrifyingly interesting to Jura, which now brings me to this next point, why Jura would get re-interested with Himawari. So right now, Jura's main target is Naruto, his fixation, his newborn obsession. But Jura is not Ishiki, he's not Code, he's not necessarily driven by the same things that those two are, though I would argue there are some similarities with Ishiki. Jura primarily is driven by curiosity, evolution, intrigue, as well as potential prey. Himawari fits into that last category as well as the curiosity category, but she also fits into all of them when you think about it. If Mamushi ends up battling Himawari, Jura will witness Himawari's displaying new precision, her stabilizing chakra better, Himawari fighting calmly, Himawari using Kurama's chakra properly, Himawari showing glimpses of potential that look way too similar to Naruto, and that is the trigger because Jura's behavior suggests this. He's fascinated by the anomalies of the world. Boruto, Naruto, Himawari, and even Kawaki. He is fascinated by how shinobi are able to use love to grow stronger. Anything that breaks the expected pattern of human limitations. He went after Himawari first for that reason, and now she's improving. She might become more of a viable, more tempting, more accessible target again, not instead of Naruto, but instead as an addition to Naruto. Basically, he wants both. He's like a collector who suddenly realizes a rare card is actually part of a full set. He now wants the full set, which brings me to this next point. The iconic narrative twist. Boruto might have caused this very future that he fears and he's trying to prevent from happening. I think that the writing here is very poetic. Right now, Boruto's fighting like a man possessed to prevent that timeline where Mamushi kills Himawari and Ada. He's fighting to protect his sister. He's trying to fight to alter fate. He's trying to cut off the very future before it happens. But here's the irony. By stepping in, by diverting Mamushi's focus, by pushing the fight deeper into the village, he may actually be putting Himawari back into Jura's spotlight. Because if Himawari fights Mamushi and she grows even more, she taps into Kurama's chakra more clearly, and she shows that she is learning through battle, Jura will see it, and Jura will become more curious. Boruto may save her today, but he might accidentally be putting her further in danger in the future. And to be honest with you, that is really great storytelling because it raises the stakes not just for Boruto, but for Himawari herself. And I think this is even more so the case because if you go back to what Ikimoto said back in 2017, he said that he had plans for Himawari because he was very intrigued by her potential. The same interview where he also said that he had plans for Kakashi. It took us almost a decade before we got the Himawari payoff. Just saying that to kind of remind, there's this thing called a delayed payoff. And that also brings me to why this is good for the story, because it further raises Himawari's role as well as raises the stakes. So Himawari has been rising slowly as one of the key figures into Blue Vortex. This potential fight against Mamushi could push her further into that spotlight. Here's why this development is narratively strong. It raises Himawari's importance. She becomes more than Naruto's daughter or Boruto's sister. That's basically her role in Boruto Part 1. She now becomes someone whose growth now threatens those Shinju plans. It also gives her real danger. Not artificial danger, not the plot might inconvenience her. Real existential threat is now there. It also parallels Naruto's coming of age arc, albeit only loosely. Naruto was underestimated until his first real battles revealed his true potential. Then, as we saw in Ebisu's flashback during the Pain arc, people began to wake up as Naruto did more and more impressive things. Himawari, to a degree, is on a parallel track here because, again, in Part 1 in the manga, there was never implied to be anything special about her outside of that one-shot manga that Kishimoto did in 2015, the day that Himawari knocked out Naruto in that one-shot manga chapter, the day that Naruto became Hokage. It also strengthens Kurama's role. Kurama training her mentally also mirrors those early days of Naruto communicating with the Nine Tails, except this time, Kurama actually has accepted the host. Himawari does not have to go through that trial subscription period that Naruto did. Kurama has taken her directly under his wing from the very beginning. And this also expands Jura's character. Instead of being a one-note villain, Jura now becomes more complex, curious, observational, adaptive, and always seeking out that next piece of evolution. It creates more tension between Boruto's intentions and his consequences. This is classic tragedy writing, so my literature nerds, you definitely get what I mean here. Trying to stop future events invites the future itself. By saving Himawari from Mamushi's attack, by defeating Mamushi and Himawari never dying, Boruto may accidentally push her into Jura's more long-term interests, because again, it's implied that he's refocusing on Naruto, but he never said that he was going to give up eating Himawari either. I think again, he wants both. This just gives Jura more incentive. And this also brings me to why Himawari might show in this fight more to attract Jura. If Himawari joins the fight, here are the specific things that Jura would be very interested in. Better control when using Kurama. Better improved chakra flow with fewer bursts of instability like we saw when Himawari was cracking the ground because of how she was releasing the chakra. Her battle instincts are improving mid-fight. Growth during the combat, not necessarily after. Seeing more of that impressive stamina that she had. Her ability to read and react to clone movements, her willingness to fight despite any fear, her willingness to battle a powerful enemy like this and adapt to being in the village itself and showcase a level of skill where she can limit the damage where she's not blowing up the village. Even a 20% improvement from last time, that would be huge in Jura's perspective, because growth in a short time frame, that is value. Value equals interest. Interest equals danger. And it's the perfect storm right now because Jura will not enter Konoha, but he is still watching. So we know from the story, as long as Himawari stays inside the village, Jura won't touch her even when he is inside the village. He respects that kind of boundary. It's a self-imposed rule. It's a self-imposed limit. As long as he's not provoked, he won't attack anybody. But that doesn't mean that he stopped watching. And it doesn't mean that he stopped planning, because Jura won't take action right now. It doesn't mean he won't take action later. In fact, if Himawari demonstrates that rapid growth, Jura is going to find a way to consume her, or at least try to. He may decide that she is an additional stepping stone in his evolutionary curiosity, and that's what elevates her role in the story. Himawari's growth and Jura regaining interest in her, that is very big in the grand scheme of things. Himawari fighting Mamushi could end up being one of the biggest points for a character where it turns, because it shows progress, it shows resilience, it highlights her battle learning style, it demonstrates Kurama's influence, it also symbolizes how she is very much like Naruto, and it puts her back into the gaze of the current villain of the story. Himawari is slowly becoming exactly what Naruto was, a diamond hidden in the rough, shining brighter the more pressure she's put under. And Jura just happens to love shiny things. What is better than just getting your hands on Naruto, getting your hands on Naruto's daughter? And with that, Boruto's impossible mission to save the future becomes even harder, because protecting Himawari from Mamushi might accidentally awaken something far more sinister inside of Jura. Something curious, something predatory, something inevitable. And that is what makes this storyline so compelling in my opinion. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, click here to watch more videos from Naruto Explained, or click here to check out videos from my other two anime channels where I talk about non-Naruto content.